Hello and welcome to Russ Duck Garage. Hey, today we've got a 1974 Bull Taco Alpina 350 that we're going to try to get running. First thing we're going to do is try to get spark and go through the fuel system. My neighbor had bought this Bull Taco Alpina 350 brand new, kept it for nearly 50 years, and gave it to me when he was moving. Well, John's here going to see if he can get some spark on this old Bull Taco.
We're going to see if we got some pulse here out of these wires from the points and condenser inside this cover. And we're carefully just playing and get the cover all opened up and see what kind of gremlins hide in there.
The old bike has not been run for
probably 20 plus years, maybe 30.
I'd say close to 30 years. Yep. And actually, maybe longer than that.
All right, a little tapping helps loosen up the tight screw. Just like that.
Nice. The Bull Taco here is a 1974 Alpina 350 two-stroke. And both John and I love the left-hand kickstart. Not.
It's an ankle breaker. Look at how this would come over.
Yeah.
So you hit your heel right there.
It doesn't give you very much of a stroke, does it?
So now we got our screws out of here. We're going to have a little fun and see if we can split this guy and give a wiggle. Nice and easy. Yep. PB blaster is the magic. And then sometimes you give them a little tap to break the gaskets free. Pull them right off. Look at that.
Very nice. Nice
Beautiful
and clean.
inside.
Wow.
Hopefully we don't have too much corrosion to deal with in our points in there.
Yeah, very good.
There we go.
Pretty good there, isn't it? Very nice.
So we got a little points file here. You can get these for about $3 to $5 online. And deep inside this little hole, next to the little stator coils, you got breaker points. So this is a very fine file that's a push-pull. It's not just a pull only or a push only file. It's a dual direction and designed that way, just for breaker points. These little guys, you get in there, a little light in the back side. You can see right in here. Just get in there, and the points look a little crusty, a little bit of micro arcing in the contacts, but we'll get that cleaned up and it should be able to work pretty good. As long as the condenser's healthy, we should be able to get spark out of this here in a couple minutes.
Nice.
All right, so we're in there, and this is just gentle. Just back and forth about 1/4 inch. It's like a little saw motion, and you just kind of cut the grits out of there to get them back in there. Points are a little fun because they're spring loaded. But the main thing is be very gentle because they're very precise.
Right.
And technically you should readjust your points gap and check your dwell later, but for this sake we're just going to see if we can get some spark today. This is the old clutch arm. Your cable runs right into here, stretches along, pulls right there. It's got an external spring to help the cable return nice and smooth. Inside here it's got a little cam. There's a cam. When you rotate this back, it pushes on a rod. If you look right through the center sprocket, here's your clutch actuation rod that goes all the way through the output shaft of the transmission over to the other side where your clutch plates, your multi-plate wet plate clutch and baskets are at. So
very nice.
And it seems to be all functioning. A little sticky. Got a little seasoning on there.
And it's pretty amazing for this bike has been in setting for 30 years, 35 years, maybe even longer, I'm not sure, but how good a condition it looks to be in.
Yeah, this is some good quality barn dust. Now that we've cleaned our points, let's use a good old cheap, $4 Harbor Freight test light here. We're gonna go ahead and figure out which one of these 3 wires we got, a green, a black, and yellow. Black and yellow are taped together, so I'd assume that that's our AC stator for running the headlight and taillight, since this is an old enduro bike without a battery, so it doesn't have to be converted through a rectifier to DC to charge a battery. So let's go ahead and see if we got a pulse here, and that'll let us know if we can get some spark out of this coil. Obviously the spark plug's a little crusty. We'll see if she's any good later. Let's see, let's get a ground here on our cooling fan. Get a little scuffs. All right, so since these are taped together. We're going to assume that black and yellow are stator and they're AC. So let's go ahead and test for a pulse here. Curl our wire around. You might want to zoom in and see if we can get a flash for a pulse here. So you got a pulse there.
Do it again. Okay. Looking good, looking good.
That's going to hit our coil with some voltage. Nice pulse from those points in there we cleaned. So I stripped the wire that was coming down.
From the coil?
From the coil here. So we'll take the tank off so y'all can see better what we're working with. This was just set on here earlier because this whole bike is partially disassembled in storage. So here we got a little one-wire coil. Ground obviously is the chassis, and we're going to go ahead and twist the wire together with our signal wire from our points. Like that, like so. And then we'll see if we got some spark in here. Maybe I'll feel it. See if I can get my hair to stand up a little bit. Whoop. Yeah, we got some spark there. I can feel it, but I didn't see it. So let's have a look here. Look how old and crusty that old ND plug is. I think she's seen some better life. So there we go. Let's try that. We got just a spark plug laying around, a brand new auto light. I don't like to run these in just about anything, but it'll work for testing for spark. So in we go. Bloop. In the hole she fits. Make sure we got a good ground on it. Oh boy, I seen it. So it might not be completely visible in the light we have here in the shop, but
Oh yeah. Very nice.
so we got spark.
Awesome. So now that we have spark, we're going to move on to the fuel system and clean out the carburetor and reassemble it.
Today's episode of carburetors and coffee. The best thing you can do. Look at that. All right, so this has been soaking in all night in fuel. We just poured the fuel out off camera here, and all the parts have been sitting. Fuel itself is great for dissolving old varnish. It's gentle, and the carburetor is meant to have fuel in it. Go figure. So it's really easy on the varnish. You can see all that little crusty stuff's right there. Got a little bit of, not too much ethanol corrosive damage, but got enough that we'll need to do some serious cleaning with a gentle brass brush so we don't tear up the aluminum too much. So let's get ourselves a little shop towel action here. Get us a bright, clean workplace to dump this stuff out. Just a couple towels. And let's not drop any screws. Ah, look what the stork brought us today. All right, here we go. Carburetor main body. Bottom of the float bowl. She's a little nasty in there, but a little scratch she'll be okay. Of course, we got ourselves, it looks like a primary jet right here. And it looks like we actually have a selection because this was all the thingums in the box from storage. Thingums, proper word from the dictionary, you know. Alright, let's see what else we got here. A couple more. We're going to have to check out our sizes here. And only assume that since the plug was pretty black in the bike, that means she was running a little heavy and thick on fuel. Don't know how it was ridden, but we might start with one right in the middle and see if we want to go richer or leaner later once we get it running. We'll just lay out all the parts for the carb here, kind of so we can see what we got going on. There's a spring. This will go in the top of the barrel. Cable would go through this right out the bottom, kind of hook in, and you put that down in there on the top of the carb like so later. So of course we got our floaty float thing. I bet you this damn thing survived the Titanic and landed offshore somewhere. Looks like Spain, made it all the way around the damn ocean somewhere. And you know what else I think is funny? Before made in China was cool to be made in China, they got plastic float needles. Look at that. White nylon. There we go. Cheap and shitty. There we go. Whatever carb this was. And it looks like we have 3 baby size lock washers for our bowl screws. Nope, we got 4 screws. 4 washers. Mind you, I did not take this carburetor apart. It's been sitting in a box in storage, and this is basically a box of roulette fun for me. Looks like it's about 3 beer cans worth of work. If you measure beer cans in time on Sunday, you know, that's the clock on Sunday. All right, look at this thing. So, look at all that crust. That was a fuel screen. Look at that. That's tasty. Season, adobo season right there for your chicken.
So John's got all the nice little intricate parts all lined out here.
Every screw and washer lined up basically where they go. Where is ET phone home? So let's see, this goes on there. So go on there. But let's not forget, I think inside, let's have a look. How much seasoning do we got in the intake particulate screen for the float bowl? Look at all that there. Look at all that flavor. There we go. That's like what you make gravy with off the bottom of the pan right there. Look at that. So we're going to have to clean that up. And we're going to wash it with our Lord and Savior's holy water. A little bit of that ultra flammable, basically acetone in the can. I'm pretty sure Korean women use this when you're not looking to clean your wife's fingernails. There we go. Bathed in holy water, ready for sacrament sauce. And it's still got a little bit of stuffs on there. So we're going to use it very gentle. Come over to tools. This is a brass wire brush, and it's a very soft one. You can basically comb your beard with this thing. And just enough to remove little stuff without tearing up. There's a screen inside the nylon, and we don't want to rip that free. That would let dirt into the carb if there was any sediment in the bottom of the tank. Even though we're probably going to run a small paper inline filter. And just basically like cleaning the kids' ears. Clean their goodums out of there. So, and then we'll give it another wash. Anyways.
And this carburetor has been apart and in this coffee can for many, many years. We don't know how many, but it was a long time.
Right? So, long time. And we'll get this cleaned up. So, it's another 30 minutes of light brushing work and just, you know, cleaning the sediment and loose particulates off of there. And we'll get down nice in the corners. And we'll use some other tools like this here Harbor Freight pick. This thing costs 50 cents. It comes in a $1.99 set. You can clean the corners out gently without scratching deep. This one's been dulled up because she's well used. But look at that. It's just like, you know, scraping under fingernails. Just goop there. All that dirt that comes off of these things. Now if you look, we do have a brass fuel inlet valve seat in here for our float needle. So we'll go ahead and clean that later. I've used a little balled up piece of aluminum foil before. It gently scrubs residues without damaging the seat and gently polishes up the old brass in there. And of course you'd rinse away debris with our holy water again. So,
alrighty.
there we go. Okay. All right, so we're using our brass brush here to gently remove some staining. We've cleaned all the stuffs up out of here. This thing's but a smooth, man, but smooth. Got a little bit of that there cook spray smooth on there, you know. All right, back to our holy water. You need 1 can per project, per hour, per beer, something like that, whatever the ratio is. And then you go through. So this is where our little tiny idle jet was. If you go to your front of your bore, your carb, I don't know if you can see too well in there. There's some little dinky holes in the bottom, right there, 2 of them. Those are what just gets access to the high velocity air as you crack your throttle. Those are going to bleed in your low speed air and fuel mixture, and that's what's going to keep it from stalling. If those are plugged, you're not going to hold an idle, and you're not going to be able to have good snappy throttle response. Real important for keeping a 2-stroke happy so you don't foul plugs, going from lean to rich, lean to rich, lean to rich. You'll never be able to get tuned if you don't get those clean. 4-stroke or 2-stroke. So what we're going to do is just take our holy water with a little sippy straw here, probably from Mickey D's for all we know, right there on the can. And we're going to go ahead and you'll watch it spray up out of that jet. And you see how it sprays up. See how it's spraying? Those are nice and clear. There we go. No compressed air needed. Just a can of super soft holy water right here. All right. So that's clean. Obviously, here's the little dinky jet right there. I don't know if you guys could probably see that, but you can see the light through that. That damn thing is small. Let's not lose it. Our main jet, obviously, I don't know if you might be able to see light. It's see-through. You can see a speck of light back there. So we got that all cleaned out. Generally speaking, I'd wash these front and back and look at them against the light. Blow the fluid out of there and make sure you can see in the polished brass internal that there is no chunkies and particulates and scuffs in there. And I don't particularly like to use welding tip cleaners because that scratches them and it alters the flow through the jet. And you'll never get it tuned right if you don't. Next thing we're going to do with this carb is it's got some varnish on this needle here. This is an aluminum needle, so you have to be very careful not to bend it, scuff it, scratch it too much. We're going to use that brass soft wire brush. Remember the beard comb? Right there. And we're using the sides of the bristles because they scrape the varnish without biting into the aluminum like the tip of the brass does. And you can polish up an old needle since it travels up and down through this, let's see here, jet orifice when this is screwed into the carb. This basically meters fuel like that. Just like that as you pull the barrel of the throttle and you twist your grip. So we're getting there. And you can close your eyes and go, yeah. Eliminate 1 sense, the rest are stronger, right? Just about how you find the pisser in the dark in a strange house anyways. Alright, so now that we got the whole carb cleaned up, there's just a little bit of light staining. All this very minuscule varnish. It's not chunkies, nothing's going to break off and clog anything. It will come off because ethanol has a lot of cleaners in the fuel and I hate it, but it'll work. Next thing that we're going to make sure this is perfectly butter smooth. I like to just mist a little WD, give her a little finger test, close your eyes and wish for better days, funner times. We've already cleaned this barrel up. See how it's dry metal? And we're just going to wipe some WD-40, just a little film of lubricant. It's just a water dispersant, but it helps. We're going to check to make sure we have zero binding. We'll drop our needle out of there that we polished earlier. Drop this in. And all these barrels, they have a peg that lines up with a slot. Right there. And see, it's almost snug. And this is why you check this stuff before you go over the bike. Because it's snug. You can turn them. And then rotate to the slot. Push it in. And guess what? It should... So when you open your throttle, that's what you're doing. It works butter smooth in there, inside the wear section.
Very nice.
So that's that. That'll be clean. It'll give us a good return. Doesn't quite fall out of there. It's still got good tolerances. This thing's not worn out and wobbled. Because sometimes you'll get these that are wobbly, and they'll suck air around it and do weird shit. It won't hold an idle when it's hot, yada yada. But you can almost use these as a part-on-part hone with a little bit of lube. Twist them around like that. And push them in so it's almost a crosshatch like a cylinder. And you see all that sauce brown on there? That was just on there. And we already cleaned that gently with this brass wire brush quite thoroughly. And it just goes to show how micro corrosion gets on the surface of cast aluminum alloy parts here. You know, I got an old bunghole cleaning, just right there on lunch break special. Ooh, see? All nice. I'll go back through again. Significantly smoother. Still stiff when we push it in. Wink. Look at that. Nice click. So.
Very nice.
A nice solid seat sound in there. You know it's going to hold an idle good. Our little ports are clean. That's the biggest thing about these old carbs. Get those little tiny jet holes clean. Put our jet in there. It's cleaned up. And time to assemble the rest of this carb. If you looked earlier, you can see absolutely clean wire mesh on here. Absolutely clean. Inside and out, it's been washed. A lot of times you can take the brush when this is dry and the crumblies will fall off after they've been soaked overnight, and it literally doesn't separate the mesh from the plastic if you're very gentle. This is a very soft brush. And then you go ahead and you'd rinse that out with our, wait, that's not the right holy water. That's over there. We were using it for other fun. But anyways, we just go ahead and assemble the rest of this carb. You can also see that we've polished up our needle. A lot of time you didn't see is you run the needle through the side of the bristles right here, and that way it doesn't pit and scrape the needle. But it's kind of like when you sharpen a knife using a good sharpener. It straightens the micromolecules of metal on the side without dulling and scraping. And you polish it up, and you do that for quite a while. It's butter smooth. It's going to slide up and down the bore of your main emulsion tube very well. You already have that bolted back in. That would go through the other side in here. But anyways, we're going to put this carb back together. Now that it's properly cleaned, we've used our pick and cleaned out just about every little corner of everything that might have sediment in it, or anything that could break off and plug any holes or orifices. And we're going to get some fuel in this here soon and see if she rips. Go in there?
Yeah, go now.
So now that we've got our carb all cleaned up, just 2 nuts, bolted her back on, got a fuel hose and a funnel. This will be our gas tank. Oh god, let's see here. A good bartender would fill this with 2 shots, but you know, a third will fit in the bowl. So you get 2 for the price of, you know, nothing. We're gonna go ahead and we put our needle in there on the middle setting, because you have a couple of settings there for how much fuel you get. This needle's looking pretty good, nice and polished up. We're gonna pop this on the top of the carb right in here. Put it on the cable. And look at that.
Very
Works
nice.
with the throttle grip. We're gonna go ahead and line this up. I've already put a little film of WD-40 in this board just so it slides well and just as an anti-corrosive too. We're gonna make sure this slides in here good. Looking into the carb, make sure everything's lining up. Beautiful. Slops right in there. Down, we'll hold it up, and
Voila.
look at that. She got some snap to it.
Got some good
Throttle's
spring.
working.
Mikey likey. Very cool.
And next, we're gonna get some fuel in the funnel. We got a 40-to-1 premix. Spike probably ran 32-to-1 back in the day. So we're gonna get that in there. And kickstarter's all tightened up. Case screws are tightened up. And we're gonna see if this old girl wants to rip today.
Nice.
See if we'll make our old heart skip a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and do a cold start here. So a lot of these old 2-strokes like a couple of prime kicks with the kill switch or ignition disengaged, so it gets some fuel into the bottom side, so when it blows over the piston, you got a good air-fuel mixture in the bottom end of the motor already. So we've disconnected our coil wire, so we have no spark, so it won't start. Next thing we're gonna do is just, you know, she's got some compression to her. Get spark. See if she lights. All right. Now we've already filled the fuel up here. Float's been filled. We're good. So still a little stubborn. I'm going to depress that a couple, 3 times. Let's see if she wants to light. Give her some more juice. It's weird you catch this. This is a left side kick. Never done this in my life.
Doesn't have a choke, does it?
No choke. But you know the original starting system would have worked fine.
Right.
I bet you got to get a good, real hard kick on this thing. Some dude had the technique to get these to run back in the day. See if I can stand on this and not get used to throwing my weight.
Right.
The other old kickstarts, you know? So let it go down, get the magneto a good blip. Keep my hips on the other side of the bike, opposite the Kickstarter. No signs of life just yet, boys. But this is how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, the spark looked really strong.
You think we ought to... What we got there? Stinking bugs?
Yeah.
See these little guys? If you squash them, they smell like shit. They're everywhere out here in Oregon.
Yes, they are.
He wanted to come along for the ride. No bug Ubers.
No bug Uber.
Remember, we're starting a 350cc single two-stroke with no compression release.
Right.
It's got a secondary plug hole for that back in the day. It's in the box of goodies we got, but I don't know. I don't put that on yet. And see, foot runs right into the peg, so I can't get a round through kick.
Right. Well, after much more effort, we installed the compression release on the motorcycle and even tried push starting it down the hill, up the hill, not really up the hill, but down the hill in the cold weather, and just never could get the bike to start. We got spark, we got compression, and we have a temporary fuel system. Not sure why it's starting other than we're just not getting over to turn it over very fast at all. In fact, when we're pushing it, we're mostly skidding the wheel down the driveway in the gravel. So when the weather gets better, when things get nicer out, we plan on giving it another shot. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and catch you next time at Rusty Duck Garage.